watch Game 3 outdoors. Your Minnesota Wild at Grand Casino Arena. Free entry with doors opening at 5. Food, drinks, live music before the puck drop for Game 3 at 8. Parking will be tight. Plan ahead. Learn more at wild.com/playoffs.
TC will be turnt. Wemby gonna get burnt. Castle get ready to get learnt. Wolves in 5. See, people make it their own. They find the real quote from Anthony Edwards and they make it their own. It's a beautiful thing. It's very creative. Extremely creative, the more you think about it. Do you have the Rocco sound on the occasion, the rare occasion, of the Minnesota Twins struggling as a Major League Baseball entity?
We know it's not good baseball.
Derek Shelton, after yesterday's day debacle, rubber game of the series, I think that was in Washington.
It was.
In which the bullpen imploded again. There were a series of base running blunders. There were the usual offensive mistakes as well, and some defensive errors. Derek Shelton, we just did not play a good baseball game. It seems as if that's going to be the tradition. No matter who the manager is, it'll be some form of Rocco saying we know it's not good baseball. Yesterday afternoon, it was we just did not play a good baseball game. Very literal approach. And that's about as much Twins as I have in me. Walks are surging in baseball. Reaching levels hardly seen in the past 7 decades. Wall Street Journal story. Let me give you some more nuggets on it that I was referring to earlier without having all of the details in my brain. The ABS strike zone is, in fact, smaller, particularly at the top, than what the strike zone has been. MLB determined, see if you can keep up with this, that the upper limit of the new strike zone would be 53.5% of the batter's height.
I'm out already.
How they decided that, I guess, is I don't know.
I'm out already.
ABS also calls strikes based on where the ball, you ready for it, crosses the midpoint of the plate rather than the three-dimensional box described in the rule book, which to me raises more questions about why. I'm assuming there was a technological reason that they felt they had to do it this way. Some pitchers believe the realities of ABS have also impacted them on the edges of the plate, even though officially the strike zone in those areas hasn't shifted. So it's also worth noting that when batters have challenged the call, they've been correct 46% of the time. When catchers challenge on behalf of their pitchers, which they have done already more than 1,100 times, they've gotten the call overturned 60% of the time. That's a net gain of more than 200 strikes. And yet, pitchers are still walking batters more than they have in years. So the pitchers are feeling like they're getting jobbed by the robot ump, and they might be right on this. So I don't know. I don't understand the technology at all. I was going to say first say enough. No, it's better to say at all. I have absolutely no idea. But what does that mean? Call strikes on where the ball crosses the midpoint of the plate rather than the three-dimensional box described in the rule book. It's way too complicated for me. Yeah, I got no chance.
I didn't even know about the three-dimensional box in the rule book. I didn't either.
Did you?
No.
Yeah.
Sounds like a case for Aaron Gleeman sometime in the next few weeks.
Yeah, we're due to have him back. There's no question about that. By the way, the word, we didn't, I don't think ever at least touch on it. The Joe Ryan update is encouraging, right? It's not a catastrophic injury in his case, correct?
Nothing bad.
Although another pitcher just had another setback. Who was the other starter that's been battling? Is it Festa? I thought we got another setback on him. Maybe it was somebody else. Hard to say. Does it matter? I'm not sure.
No.
612 guy writes, of course you aren't excited about the Vikings move, Dan. You never get exciting. You only ever get excited about the Vikings downfall. You should change your name to Danny Downer. That's original.
We don't change it to that. It's been that for a couple of decades.
That's pretty much, except for when I'm Polydana, and then I get ripped for that too.
We break it out every once in a while.
Not at all a seismic move, writes Flim Flam, but I really, really, really like the Jay Jennings signing if KOC runs the ball on 2nd and 2. What are the chances we would ever run the ball on 2nd and 2? We don't like running the ball on 2nd and 2, right?
2nd and 2 is a perfect throwing down.
2nd and 2 is a good throwing down.
Yeah.
That's true, but it's not illegal to go and get the first down with another run.
Well, in all honesty, you could probably, because it's 2nd and 2, they probably think you're going to throw. You can probably get more.
Yeah.
If you run the ball.
Well, depending on who I'm still a little concerned about our running back situation. But we got, is it Jennings is his last name? The
Twan Jennings.
X-49er?
Yep.
He's got good numbers. I think he had injuries this last year. His numbers came down from the year before.
What year did he have 55 catches? I thought I read that.
I think 55 was this past year, but he had more. I think he was in the 70s or 80s the year before that. Because I think he missed a decent number of games last season. But you can double check that. Because we're all raving about how, we got him at a bargain price and we were patient.
We waited him out. We wanted him to leave.
Every move we make is the best move that's ever been made. I can't believe we don't have more Super Bowl rings. But anyway, is it possible does that maybe tell you there wasn't as much demand for him? He's a nice third receiver. Absolutely. Talent's good. I'm never going to frown on talent. I just don't think. Maybe it's desperation, maybe it's boredom, but people are making it sound like this is going to be the steal of the century.
He only missed 2 games.
Oh, last year was only 2? Okay.
In the regular season.
Okay. What was it? Where did his numbers, didn't his receptions fall from
77 to 55?
Yeah.
Last year he had 9 touchdowns compared to 6.
Yeah, 9's not bad. That's not a bad number.
In the playoffs he had 2 catches. No. He had 3 catches on 8 targets in their 2 games. No tutties.
At what point does KG's absence become personal? Are we sure he likes it here? I wouldn't take it personally at this point. I think it's fair to say. In fact, I heard Johnny was on the show I was supposed to be a part of, but I've been supplanted because I didn't show up the one time that Franco Solo wanted me on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll never get that back now. And one of them asked about whether Garnett was going to be there, and Johnny said he didn't know, but he said the most important thing, which is KG is going to be where he wants to be whenever he wants to be there. No one's going to tell KG where to go,
right? When
to go. And you just have to accept that, right? That's just the reality of KG. I don't think that means he's bored with us. I think it's just the way it works. That's his personality. That's his nature. It is interesting to note. Again, this is where he is back in my day guy and very much a throwback guy. He does that podcast with Paul Pierce. In fact, let's break and I'll give you a couple of interesting nuggets from that. I want to get to some texts on some other subjects. I want to hear from the hockey community. How down on your club are you? How hopeful are you that the team can turn it in another must-win situation? I think this will be our second must-win situation, right? We had to win Game 4 against Dallas. I think we have to win Game 3 here against Colorado to at least, keep the door open a bit to give ourselves a chance to get back in this thing. Let me know. Bradshaw and Bryan inbox 64686.
FanandBigDeck.com. Want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest, and media is the 4 o'clock keyword. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword media. Time. We know the stakes could not be higher. You get the expert insight each week from the Athletics. John Krasinski with Dan Barrero all postseason. It's brought to you by RBC Wealth Management.
How about this nugget? Utterly definitely from the non sequitur department. There's absolutely no reason to, at this particular time, expect this particular discussion, but it just came to my attention, and it fascinates me. And if it fascinates me, I'm hoping it'll fascinate the listeners. Will the youngsters be bored with it? Depends on how many of them have ever heard of an historic concert called Woodstock.
Okay.
Pretty iconic moment, I think even you would agree.
So much so they tried to recreate it.
Yeah, it didn't go as well the second time.
Fun documentary, though, to look back on.
This is via our buddy, one of the best music writers in the country, Alan Paul. And I don't know how he got it, but he got it. The artist booking fees list for Woodstock, summer of 1969.
I love it.
This is really good. Well, it also tells you something about inflation, but so let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Let's do it that way. We'll count, it's sort of like we're counting down to who of the artists received the most money, biggest booking fee.
I need to see
to participate in Woodstock.
I want to see who is there again. I got to be reminded of that.
Okay. Yeah, you'll recognize several of them.
Oh, yeah.
In 26th place, I may not read them all because there's 26 of them here. A group called Quill received $600. That was their booking fee. I don't remember Quill. I do remember the Incredible String Band. They're 24th. They got $1,000. They got $1,000. Richie Havens, $1,200. The Paul Butterfield Blues Band. They were very well known. $1,800. The Quicksilver Messenger Service, $3,000. Ravi Shankar is ranked 16th. He got $4,000. Arlo Guthrie comes in at 13th, $5,500. 10 years after, $7,500. And this is easily the biggest bargain. Looking back now, this has to be the bargain of the entire Woodstock experience. Congratulations to the promoters who pulled this off. In 11th place, Sly and the Family Stone received all of $8,000 to appear at Woodstock. Now, I'm sure they would say, well, it opened some doors in a way that it was fine.
Right.
But that's highway robbery. $8,000 at number 11. Top 10, Country Joe and the Fish at 10. Brian Oak's favorite band, The Grateful Dead, 9th at $7,000. Santana, $9,500. Brilliant performance by Carlos. Jefferson Airplane, 7th, $9,000. Janis Joplin got $11,000. The Who, $14,000. In 4th place, and I think this was the first time they'd appeared in public. I think, maybe I'm wrong. Crosby, Stills, and Nash, at least at a big event, $12,500. 3rd place, Joan Baez, who was just in town, I think, for the one of the No Kings rallies at the state capitol.
Okay.
$10,000. Runner-up, 2nd place, second most amount of money. Second biggest booking fee. Woodstock, summer of '69. Blood, Sweat, and Tears, $15,000. And first place, and this probably won't surprise anyone because it's sort of considered the headline experience, no pun intended, the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Yeah.
$18,000. They're all by themselves in first place.
And he shut it down. That was the...
yeah, that's true.
According to Wikipedia, he was the last guy.
$18,000.
18 grand.
What's 18? I'm asking you to do the math. Just ask the computer. Ask AI or whatever it's called. What would $18,000 in 1969 equate to in 2026? In 2026 money? To at least give us a ballpark figure. Does it say? Do you get anything? Do you get any kind of answer to that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Anywhere from 161 to 165,000.
Okay. That sounds like a good chunk of change.
Also a bit of a bargain, though, because I'm thinking someone as big as Hendrix now.
That's true.
Like, there's some bands that can get $1 million. There's some bands that can get more for just a show. For a festival, I don't know. I don't know how the festival business works. Do you recall how much tickets cost for Woodstock?
$4.
Pretty close. $6 a day, basically.
$6 a day. That's a bargain.
$18 if you bought it in advance for all 3 days.
Okay.
$24 at the gate.
I see. Restrooms, 50-50 chance you could get to one, I think. Although I didn't need it. It was just
going to say.
You're in nature. Go wherever you need to. Correct?
That's pretty cool. Rosenbaum was there, right?
I thought Rosen was there.
Well, I know Sauce's dad was.
Yeah, that's right.
We've had him on to talk about
Rosen
it before.
wasn't there?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I swear Rosenbaum was there, but maybe I'm just thinking about the Beatles.
I think you're thinking about the Beatles. I don't remember. I don't remember him saying that, but it's possible, I guess. I feel like somebody we know did go beyond Sauce's dad.
Right.
I thought there was somebody else, but
Was Think It Ain't Gal there? It seems like a Think It Ain't Gal thing.
Anything's possible. She could text because she might know on Rosenbaum.
Yeah, you're right.
She's a historian on all this stuff, so it's very, very, very possible. I don't know. Ben Goessling coming up in just a few minutes.
I love that you could just buy tickets at the record stores in the New York area.
You love that,
That's
you?
how you got. Well, it's just
yeah.
Kids don't even know. Like, I remember having to go. Was it Dayton's? You could go to like the Ticketmaster outlet at like Dayton's at Southdale.
Yeah, back in the day.
To go
sure.
buy tickets. I mean, This is when I was a kid, 35, 40 years ago. So if I wanted to go see Counting Crows at Northrop, I could just go over to Southdale.
Yeah.
And buy a couple of tickets.
I think there used to be something called Ticketron, even before Ticketmaster.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing where you get tickets anywhere for various concerts. That's
what a time.
Very true, Davey.
Now you got to sit in a queue. You got to hope you're one of the chosen ones, and then you pay $5 million to go to these concerts.
Well, that's what I was going to get to, because originally, for Enough Said, I think Lori Fisher had, is it blue dot disease? No, what are they calling it?
Yeah, blue dot fever, blue dot disease.
Fever?
Yeah.
And that's supposedly not enough tickets being purchased for, various concerts, and so then the people who are supposed to perform say we're canceling.
Yes.
In effect. And that more of that is happening?
Apparently.
Is that strictly price? Are prices out of control even by today's standards?
I think they are.
Yeah.
Yes, I think they are. And what's frustrating is the Ticketmaster CEO within the last year or so was on some panel and basically said he felt like tickets for concerts had been underpriced for years. And he compared it to sports and said it's like a badge of honor for somebody to sit courtside. They want to pay thousands of dollars to go to a Knicks game, but when Beyonce performs, you shouldn't have to pay that. And I do think there's some of the market that is rebelling against that, because there have been a lot of concerts canceled recently. And I'm a guy that likes Sauce. To bring him up again, he always checks it too, because tickets seem like they're insanely priced for some of these shows, especially in big venues.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then they don't sell. And there's a few people that can obviously charge whatever they want, and people are going to pay it, right? Morgan Wallen, Taylor Swift, you can go down the list. But for your kind of run-of-the-mill star concert, I think the prices have gone crazy.
701 guy wants to know if it's possible that Sauce was conceived at Woodstock. I don't think the timing works, but it's a good line.
No.
Nevertheless.
We have wondered.
Yeah, from time to time that's come up. What a sham list. Where are the Archies on this list? That's from Bemidji guy. Did the Archies perform at the I think that might be a good joke. There's a phenomenal book center around Woodstock called Small Town Talk. That's also from another 701 guy. We got a couple people listening via the 701 area.
We're big in North Dakota.
Apparently we are. It's good to hear.
Shout out Fargo.
I'm saving the answers to my hockey question. I got a bunch. I promise you I will get to them. Probably, I'm guessing, after the top 5 at 5. Bottom of the hour pause will be followed up with our usual Friday visit with Ben Goessling. We'll talk about what he thinks regarding the Jennings signing, rookie minicamp, and I think the head coach spoke today, if I'm not mistaken. And by the way, did you see one of the older? We have one old name at rookie minicamp, a quarterback who once upon a time, in a substitute role, beat the Minnesota Vikings at the People's Stadium. Did you see him on the list?
No, I didn't.
We'll get to that as well as we continue. Get to the bottom of the hour break and then continue with Mr. Goessling. Lavelle at 5:30. Andy Luger checks in. My older sister's friends bought Woodstock tickets at our local record store in New Jersey. but a few got stuck on the New York Thruway and never quite made it.
You heard a lot of that.
A lot has to be. And some of it's true, and some of it might be I want people to think I went because it became so historic, but it wouldn't be all that surprising given the number of people who attended or attempted to attend.
I feel like Sauce's dad just left their car somewhere.
Yeah, abandoned it.
And then went up to the show.
Did they get it back on the other side? Or was it gone?
I'm not sure. I assume so. They got home eventually somehow.
Well, but the whole line of thinking then was, just take my car, man. We all come from the same amoeba. I don't need, it's fine. Your car's my car. Your su casa's mi casa. So, the whole bit. Ben Goessling, a little too young for Woodstock, I think. He joined us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. I mentioned earlier, Goessling, that as far as I'm concerned, let me see if I can find the numbers again. Hold on a second. We were reading out the Woodstock artist booking fees, and I still look at Sly and the Family Stone only making $8,000 and thinking that's a hell of a bargain for what they ended up becoming. That was like 11th highest. $8,000 seems like a heck of a bargain for the promoters, is what I'm trying to say. So, and at the top of the list, I'm sure you'll appreciate this, even though he's well before your time. Jimi Hendrix commanded the largest booking fee of $18,000. Joan Baez was number 3. Joan Baez, the country, the folk singer, who was just here for the No Kings rally in St. Paul not that many weeks ago. So it goes on and on.
Hendrix, as a guitar player, Hendrix getting the largest booking fee, to me, is how it should be. I mean, there's obviously a number of incredible artists on the list of different genres, but Hendrix at the top of the list, and he gave the folks their money's worth at that particular
no question.
Festival with the iconic national anthem performance at Sunrise, I believe.
Well stated. Good recall. Well, not recall there. Good research there. I'm sure, because I think you were a little too young for Woodstock, weren't you?
I was, yes. My parents, I think, were like 11 during Woodstock. Woodstock '94, like where they did the 25th thing. I suppose I was like 11 for that, and the one where like Limp Bizkit ruined everything. I suppose I was in high school, but I was not present for any of these in person.
What was the concert / getaway that has been turned into documentaries because of what a disaster it was? Yeah.
Firefest.
Were there any, who was supposed to be the headliner there? Do we remember?
Well, I mean, like Ja Rule was like a partner in it.
Okay. But wasn't it supposed to be a series of concerts too, or was it just like in a week? Yeah.
No, it was a festival on a Caribbean island.
Yeah, and it was just the documentaries that have been done on that are legendary, of course.
Two of them, Hulu and Netflix, they're both phenomenal.
And they are both phenomenal, there's no question.
And you should watch the 99 Woodstock, like Goessling mentioned, because we were both in high school at the same time, and how that went pear-shaped, and then Limp Bizkit set it on fire literally is fascinating to watch. Like all these things, like what did you think was going to happen? To do all these, they were just asking for so much trouble, and they got all of it.
Pretty much every bit of it.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll definitely try to check that out. 952 guy writes, "Is this true? Can this be true? Norm Coleman was a roadie for 10 years after at Woodstock. Has that been established in the past, and I didn't just know it?"
To my knowledge, I don't know. Huh. You interviewed him before. You're going to have to figure it out.
It's been a long time since we've had him on. Yeah. Maybe we should have him on again. That's for sure. Okay. Let's talk football and not so much music here and find out. We have, I think, the opening of Vikings rookie minicamp. I teased to Gaardsy earlier that at least one of the participants is not young and is not a rookie. He's a quarterback who I think, hasn't he beaten us in a reserve starting role at the People's Stadium?
Yes, he has. You are, in fact, referring to 32-year-old Cooper Rush, who got a veteran invite to the Vikings one-day-only rookie minicamp today. There's a loophole there that when you don't have enough quarterbacks to get through practice, you can do this. And it was him and Aiden Bauman, son of former Vikings quarterback Todd Bauman. So basically, they needed those two to get through it. Yeah, it's
that makes me feel old.
Yeah. In terms of and then Adrian Peterson Jr. announcing a offer from the University of Minnesota today. That's another one that for me it starts to be like, okay, I covered your dad. This is we're here now. But yeah, it was those two, and yes, you're correct. Cooper Rush beat the Vikings in a Sunday night Halloween.
I was at that. It might have been the last game I've attended. Yeah, I was there for that game.
There you go.
It was not.
That game.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was not an impressive outing for the Purple. I think they thought they'd win because there was no Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Cooper Rush, I think it was his first NFL start, and that team missed the playoffs, and everybody got fired at the end of the year. So there were a couple of losses in that season that really kind of sealed the fate for Mike Zimmer and company. That was certainly one of them with Cooper Rush at the helm for the Cowboys.
Two things. Cooper Rush, the Gophers handled him, and I think Central Michigan at one of the Quick Lane Bowls, one of the three that I was at as a sideline reporter. Secondly, you're right, Ben, today I had to refresh Twitter a couple of times because I remember vividly playing with Adrian Peterson Jr. in Mankato while Adrian Peterson was being interviewed by Dan at training camp. Like throwing a ball to him to try to keep him busy when he's like 3 years old. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So I might interview him. Maybe if PJ can land him.
Absolutely.
He might be the new guy, but that made me feel...
Is he a running back?
I don't even know what position he plays. Yeah.
Athlete?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think he is.
But I remember like doing little high fives with him, just trying to literally keep him busy.
Totally.
For 10, 15 minutes so we could have his dad on at training camp.
That's too good.
Yeah, I remember him being like a little kid there too, where there's like a picture of Adrian picking him up.
Yeah.
And I mean, because I suppose my first year on the beat, if the kid now is like 17, he would have been a toddler, well, 2 or 3 years old, probably preschooler type when I would have started on the beat. But yeah, this is going to be year 15 for me coming out. So I guess it all makes sense timing wise, but it's also just kind of shocking because like, yeah, it really has been that long.
All right, so the head coach spoke today. Give me a sense of what he got into, because I assume he was asked about the Juwan Jennings signing.
He was, yes. He talked about Jennings being a target of theirs for a lot of the offseason and praised the job that Rob Brzezinski and company did to get it done. I mean, they wanted to add receiver depth. They talked about the possibility of doing it in the draft, and I think once things didn't shake out the way that they felt like they would in terms of taking a guy where they were picking to find a receiver that would have been at the top of the board there, they were looking at guys like this that once you get past the draft, it no longer counts against the compensatory pick formula. So he came in for a visit last week. He's obviously a guy that comes from a similar offensive style to what they play and probably even more of what they want to move toward this year. I mean, one of the things that they like about him is his ability as a run blocker. I mean, he's a guy that he's 6'3" and plays with quite a bit of aggression and probably as much as any receiver in the NFL in that facet of things, which you, of course, have to do for the 49ers. And I think they liked the idea of him bringing that to the offense and can play in a lot of different spots in their offense. So it's one of those that O'Connell said, this is a guy we wanted to bring in. He adds a unique aspect to the room. He's different than Jefferson. He's different than Addison. And I think they wanted somebody with a little bit of that grit in the run game. They wanted somebody that probably can handle a little more contact over the middle. I mean, all of those different things. They just didn't have a receiver like this. They haven't had the kind of the physical type in this way in a while. So this was something I think was pretty high still on the shopping list. I would imagine it was this in the center, and, you try to add probably a couple other places, but this was definitely a target for them to get done, and I believe it's up to $13 million for the 1 year, and they've got some money now after the Grenard thing, and they'll get a little more on Jonathan Allen on June 1st. So they have the money to do it, and they bring in some depth at that position.
I talked earlier in the show. I don't believe it's quite as franchise transforming as some fans have suggested to me. But you raise an important point that I probably didn't consider enough. There is something to the concept of adding a different kind of receiver. And if it's another indication that this time around they're serious about, concentrating more on giving themselves the best chance to have a good running game, and he's a receiver who'll block a little bit, doesn't mind getting his uniform dirty in that regard, that can be a good thing. And with all due respect to Adam Thielen, regular on this show, unbelievable career, I think it's fair to say as a number 3 receiver at this point, Jennings gives you more of a threat, more versatility, and a little more juice probably than Thielen did, correct?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, you have a guy that he's not a burner. I think he was coming out of college, he was like a 4.7 in the 40, so it's not that, but they've talked about this, that we want to be a team that can win different types of fights. I think that was the line last year, and what that means, I mean, the shorthand for that is we want to be able to be more physical. I mean, when Kevin O'Connell says play style, every time he says that is shorthand for we want to be able to punch you in the mouth at some times to do that. And they needed to get bigger on the offensive line. They've done a lot of that. I think that's been a lot of the focus over the last couple of years about the linemen they've added. And then, it's why the investment has been made in Josh Oliver. I think it's Jordan Mason, all of these types of players, even drafted Bredesen to replace the C.J. Ham role to a degree is part of that. But they have not had receivers that do that. And if you go all the way back to the Rams, and the 49ers do a lot of this too, but the Rams, with those offenses that O'Connell and Wes Phillips had in Los Angeles, the receivers play a really important role as blockers because what they like to be able to do is play the receivers in tight splits, and you don't know if they're throwing out of those things or if they're running out of them. And the guy that everybody talks about, and Wes Phillips, I think, still holds in the highest esteem as a run blocker, is Cooper Kupp. And they have not had a player that can kind of recreate that piece of the offense quite to the degree that maybe they've wanted. And I think Jennings gives them some of that, where you'll probably see him playing in a lot of tight splits. He can either run crossing routes out of those things, or it looks like he's going to block, or start to block and then run a lead concept out of that. I mean, I think you're going to see some of those facets of their offense that they feel like they can execute a little more effectively when you have a guy like this that can really do either thing pretty well and can force you to think that one thing is coming and then play off of that as a counter.
Well, all I can say is first day of training camp later this summer, the head coach can thank me, because I've only been on this particular aspect of this team, more than just how often you run, but the style of approach. Because I'm a Niners guy, man. And that embodies everything I think they do. They certainly don't have a head coach who's afraid to throw. They like to throw, but I think they fully understand it's still a violent game. It's a physical game, and that's part of what you're going to have to bring to it. And he does, I think, embody a little bit more of that approach. So to that extent, maybe it is potentially a bigger move than I suggested earlier in the broadcast. Is it possible that in the end it's going to be the way the Wilfs have spoken when they've spoken about what they want from the new GM? Is it possible this is, I don't want to say a charade exactly, but is it possible this is setting up almost certainly as being a job that ultimately is going to go to Rob Brzezinski? Because it almost sounds like they're saying we really don't want anybody to take over or be in charge. We like what we are in a lot of areas. We just want somebody who will fit in, do his job, his part of the job too. And if you want to be part of that adventure, well, then we'll talk to you and we'll see. And I just don't, to me, that's going to play easier with a guy who's already been a company man forever than a guy who may say, well, if I'm going to be a general manager, I want to be a general manager. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you hire somebody from outside, I mean, and Terrence Gray may be the exception because of his history in Minnesota, but if you hire somebody from the outside, invariably, they're probably going to want to bring in some of their own people and have kind of lieutenants around them that they know and they trust. And that's what anybody would want. And I think the last time, I mean, obviously Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah did not come from that world, so didn't come in with this big network of here are the people I want to bring in. But I think part of what they thought about last time was we want to keep this scouting apparatus largely in place. And, we can argue about whether that should happen or not, but that was certainly the directive last time. And I think there's at least, you hear some of the rhetoric saying, hey, we like a lot of what we have and we need to fit in, kind of like you're saying. So if you go and hire somebody that wants to reframe everything, that's going to play differently with the rest of the group than it would with Rob Brzezinski. And I do think, Kevin O'Connell went out of his way to compliment Rob Brzezinski for getting the Jawan Jennings signing done again today. I think there's a lot of people in that building that feel like this has worked well. This offseason has been shrewd financially. They've addressed some things that they wanted to do. They figured out the quarterback thing without spending a ton of money. You've been able to add to the defense in the draft, and then you make the Jonathan Grenard trade and are able to clear some space there and get another pick, and you get one next year. I think there's a lot of people that feel like this has worked relatively smoothly through the course of this, and we'll see over the course of next year how effective those moves actually were. But yeah, I do think it's one of the things where if you bring somebody in, that has to work with the pieces that are here, because this is not a blank slate. This is not hypothetical GM and hypothetical coach. It's hypothetical GM with coach who is here, coach who is under a long-term contract, defensive coordinator who has a new contract, and I think wants to have a voice in things. And so all of this matching together is not just being done in a vacuum. And I think it's possible that a lot of these discussions are, maybe you do something where Rob Brzezinski is a president of football operations and you hire a general manager that's more of the scouting background, a little bit kind of like what the Twins have done. That would be a little more non-traditional than what the Wilfs have talked about, but maybe you go with something like that. I just think it would be a little surprising to me if Rob Brzezinski comes out of this just saying, I'm going to go back to my normal title, I'm going to go back to my normal job, and nothing additional is granted him in this process. I think at the very least, you'll probably see some type of I would not be surprised to say that there's some type of an elevation or a change in title coming from him out of this process. It would be hard for me to imagine he's just, okay, go back to your spreadsheets with the cap, and that's that.
So we got minicamp this weekend, correct?
Yep.
And then what do we have? So what's Monday? We have others coming in as well. Where are we at in the process of off-season workouts?
Yeah, the off-season workouts will start back up with the veterans on Monday, and that is the point at which the rookies can start to work out with the veterans as well. And then you get OTAs a little bit later this month. I think they are doing 3 of their 4 weeks of OTAs before minicamp, and then 1 more week after that, if I'm remembering all that correctly. The minicamp is, I think, the second week of June, and then there's 1 more week of OTAs, which is kind of understood for the veterans to be truly optional. That you'll see a lot of the older players probably get excused for the summer. But, that's kind of where we're at in the process now. It's workouts and then OTAs a little bit later this month.
McCarthy, so will the veteran quarterbacks be there Monday?
Yeah, they should be.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody's been here and working out. It's just now that you have done the rookie minicamp and some of the introduction stuff, the introductory phases of things, classes for the rookies saying, hey, this is how this works. Here's how you get in. Here's where your locker is, all of the kind of orientation stuff. Now they will get to work, and you basically have your full team from this point on through the rest of the offseason.
Will this be potentially the first chance you guys have had to talk with McCarthy? He really hasn't spoken, has he, to the group?
No. Yeah, we have not heard from him really since the end of the season. He hasn't made any comments about anything that's happened as far as Kyler Murray coming in. Right. So, no, we have not heard from him, and I don't know how quickly that will happen. I imagine they've tried to keep things a little quiet around him for a reason. But, yeah, we have not really gotten a sense of what he's thinking. What you hear behind the scenes from people talking to him is he's embraced it and done a lot of the right things, and I think that's what players have said too. But yeah, the kind of account of things from him we have not heard directly at this point.
On my list of things I think he should jettison, I would start with the eye black. I think I just would say, come on, let's not do the trappings things yet, and we're about 9, and let's just go out and show that you're improving as a football player and you're figuring the whole thing out instead of trying to act the part of a football player. Just go out and be a quarterback. And you know what? The bar's low right now. So if he shows signs of improvement, it will be well received. There's no question about that, because we know he's got some talent. So I don't know. I doubt that he cares what I would suggest. He's probably got people he's going to pay more attention to than me. But That's just me. That's just a bias I have, for whatever that's worth. On the list of outsiders under consideration, I think they're all assistant GMs. I think you named one of them. Any on that list intrigue you more? Is there a backstory that says, this might be a little bit, more interesting than the others? Anything come to mind that struck you regarding that list?
Yeah, I mean, Dave Ziegler has a history with the Patriots. I mean, he's been with the Titans, but he has a history with the Patriots for a long time as an executive during a lot of the Bill Belichick years. So it has connections with Brian Flores from that time. I can't remember exactly if he would have crossed paths with Kevin O'Connell during his brief stay as a player in New England. That might be a little further back than Ziegler would have gone, but that one is interesting just because of the Flores connection. And then John McKay, I think, is an interesting one. Obviously has had connections with O'Connell from L.A., but the other thing that's interesting there is he's the son of Rich McKay, the longtime Falcons executive, who is the head of the competition committee. Kevin O'Connell is now on the competition committee, so you start to connect dots of who knows whom. And there's some of those things that I find to be a little bit interesting, and just trying to figure out where influence may come into these things. And O'Connell today said, I'm going to be as involved in whatever role they have for me in terms of the Wilfs. And he specifically mentioned Andrew Miller, the chief operating officer. I think 3 times he brought up Andrew Miller's role in this process. So I think the degree to which coaches will have a voice in this and their connections will direct it kind of remains to be seen. But it's also worth noting that when these coaches are here with the amount of status that they have, I think those connections are worth keeping in mind as they go through this process.
Have a wonderful weekend, and we will chat next week. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Dan.
Ben Goessling covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune, joins us, of course, each and every week, now pretty much year-round, with very, very few exceptions. It's sort of the way that the job has evolved. Therefore, his role, I think, has evolved on this show, too. Lavelle E. Neal III is with us, pretty much every week, all year, barring some vacations and a couple other things that come up. He is scheduled for a 5:30 visit. Top 5 at 5 is right around the corner with Gaardsy, and I'm assuming it will include an update on the status of Ayo Dosunmu.
Maybe. It will include an update from the head coach on Joel Eriksson Ek for tomorrow's game.
That's even better.